In this video, we'll take a look at some of the prints by Twente Additive manufacturing around their facility and compare their 1K material to their 2K material. In the end, we'll even get a glimpse of their future printer that they call Telecom, which will have mobile printing capabilities. Make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss next week's podcast episode with founders Ian and Jim.
As you pull up to the Twente Additive manufacturing facility, here's what you see.
Here's a simple print where they were probably testing their regular 1K material. It's not particularly complex. Over there, you can see another small print that has an inner and outer wall also using the 1K material. This piece looks very similar to the modular units used for the 3D printed Fibonacci House. You can see how it's reinforced on the inside, and also a test of how they were planning on organizing the columns. For this larger print, they've used many pieces of fiberglass rebar to reinforce the concrete structure.
The Tventa president Ian loves hopping in this digger and terraforming some of the land around his facility here. This structure, you can see, is made with their 2K material. By using this material that sprays an adhesive on the concrete after it's printed, they're able to achieve really cool structures. This one obviously is printed not just straight up and down, but on a varying plane. Right now they're experimenting with a few different options for how they're going to clad the exterior of their facility. They've tested some of these different methods by hanging them up on the wall to get a look at how they're going to look. Which one would you prefer to see this building cladded with? The patterned parametric design or just the plain straight concrete printed wall?
These are revetment walls. As part of Tvente's plan to terraform the land around their facility, they'll be using these revetment walls to hold back part of the mountain that's behind their facility. This will open up a wider space to navigate vehicles and equipment on their grounds. These prints have different designs to make them more appealing and interesting. Some of them have issues like microfractures, but that shouldn't be a problem for their purpose. A small crack in a large concrete structure isn't going to stop it from being able to hold back dirt.
Here you can see a really cool print. This is like a mosaic. This extremely intricate print, like many other things, would be very difficult to make by hand. By printing it, they're able to make this in just, it seems like 1 to 8 layers. They've got a lot of construction equipment here, as they should. They're building houses and large concrete structures, so they need a lot of equipment in order to manage and move all these materials. It's a really beautiful area that Tventa has this headquarters facility in. I'm the kind of guy that values function over form. And while I know 3D printing opens up a lot of possibilities for some really beautiful design, the projects that are really intriguing to me are the practical ones. That's why I love this 3D printed storm drain. It's such a cool unit that Tventa was able to print in their facility right up there, instead of having to buy one and wait for it to be shipped here and installed. This is a really cool circumstance where you're able to instantaneously print out objects you need after quickly designing them, and then being able to decrease the amount of time and probably the cost that it would have taken to get this object here in the ground. Check out this 3D printed children's table. It's got a really unique design. You can see the 3D printed house behind me, and in front of me is a really cool development. This is a really common structure in all types of construction that can be made really quickly and efficiently to customize dimensions with 3D printing. Stairs. Stairs might not be the first thing you think of when you think of 3D printed concrete, but it can take a long time to hire contractors and get them to install stairs that are custom dimensions and a custom number of steps. Having the ability to have them quickly 3D printed really enhances the contractor's ability to adhere to a tight schedule and sometimes a tight budget. Stairs like these can be printed in a little over an hour, and after a day you can move them from their place and print another one. You can even fit a dozen of them next to each other and be able to print a ton at once if you really want to drive a profit center. And then here we have the glass house. Wow, I'm getting kind of tired walking around. Maybe I should take a rest in these 3D printed seats. Stairs are complicated, unique, and expensive. With 3D printing, you can shorten the construction schedule and get stairs delivered quicker. The problem is, you need a 3D printer for concrete in your region. So if you're a contractor who sells a lot of stairs, maybe you should look into the possibility of 3D printing your next set. In front of the Kootenay Lake Village sign, you can see some of their earlier prints. This one has kind of a weaved look, whereas this other one has maybe like a beaded kind of pattern that happens repeatedly throughout the structure. I think these were some of their earlier prints where they were testing out different structural methods. You can see the inside here is corrugated, but here they've used kind of concrete bridges that I don't know how well you can see, but they're kind of printed in the air. It's a really cool method. This one over here uses rebar instead of concrete support units. Maybe that's why it has this crack in the back. Check out this beautiful build site with awesome lake and mountain views. The really unique part about this build site is all the exposed bedrock. All that exposed bedrock is generally a pretty unique construction challenge. But with 3D printing, they're able to 3D print custom forms, like that column you might be able to see down there, and then place them directly on the bedrock to have concrete poured into them, giving a foundation that naturally fits in with the environment around it. Let's go take a closer look. A common question is, can you 3D print the foundation of a building? Well, here's the structure for a 3D printed footing that could have concrete and rebar poured in so that it has enough structural security to have a house resting on top of it. You can see that the bottom of this column here, the 3D printed layers. So this is actually printed upside down, so that top layer is on the floor, and then they build it up, and the top layer is kind of beaded so that this side has far more layers than the other side, and it naturally fits onto this piece of bedrock. The bedrock is extremely sturdy, so by filling this in with concrete and some rebar, they'll be able to create a strong footing. When this house is ultimately built, it's going to have an incredible view.
Here's a 2K print you might recognize from my last video, 12 steps to operate a concrete 3D printer. Check out how the robotic arm automatically moves on to the second print after finishing up with the first one. This means that when you mass produce objects at scale, efficiencies arise that can't be realized otherwise. Here's the 3D model that these forms were printed from. You can see they were designed to fit on a 3D scan of natural bedrock occurring around the facility.
It's lower, but is it meant to be straight though?
Yeah, that's the idea.
So I'm assuming we have to move it like a quarter inch or whatever.
But don't forget, when we got this scan, we'd lost our 3D space. So Jim and I actually just came out here with a level and a tape measure to find our 3D space. So, but we can absolutely work with this. That was cool. That's it.
I just wanted to see, yeah.
It's a little cold, huh? That's it. Here's it fast enough. Spin. Get over. This one's gonna work perfectly.
Here's a clip of founders Ian and Jim sitting at their table watching my video of their 3D printed Fibonacci house.
So this is the part here that we had a little blockage in our hose with the other day, and we were able to resume the print. The spot that we stopped was on the connector between the three parts, which would have been right here.
Good shot of Ian getting his hands dirty.
Try not to get mud in the bark here too. Yeah.
These pieces are being used to form the outline of a playground being built by the Rotary Club in Nelson, British Columbia. Obviously, these pieces have been 3D printed in concrete, and now they're being filled. Initially, they're only filled to half height so that you prevent too much tension force being put on the concrete. Then, they're filled up the rest of the way and floated. It can be tricky to get a perfectly even layer on the top. Because of this, the team was working well into the dark in order to finish up this playground before the concrete hardened. Here's a look at the stand of the upcoming Telecom printer from Twente Additive Manufacturing. This future printer will be mobile. By having a mobile printer, Tventa will enable themselves to print on site. Soon, I'll be releasing a long-form podcast that I did with Ian and Jim while I was in Canada, so look out for that.